are we going to actually be live when
Yeah,
it says we're
that
live?
is always a good question.
Let me check.
Is what's going to happen?
It would help if I actually had the comments open.
Yeah, there's nobody in the comments yet.
Okay, good. I was so worried that I would miss somebody.
Mm-mm. Trying to decide, do I want to tie my hair back up or leave it down?
I like your hair both ways.
Tie it back up.
Yes, it says we're live.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
And if you're not, I always go the wrong way. Sorry. Everybody, and if you're not following Jen from Genderqueer, what the hell are you doing here?
Go away. All right.
Hi.
Hey, Mystic.
How are you? We are discussing Weyward by Amelia Hart. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amelia Hart. This book was a journey for being so short.
It was.
It was a journey.
It was quite a journey.
It was a lot. Like, there should, that was one thing I wish there was, like a list of trigger warnings or content warnings, because there are a lot in this one.
Yeah.
Specifically involving horrible things happening to women.
Yeah. Women, largely.
Yes. And that men completely suck in this world. There are 3 different timelines. I'm looking down to make sure, because I wrote them down. Pat's here.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Pat. I don't know how you're awake, because it's late my time.
Awake. I don't think Pat sleeps.
Well, in my book club that Pat also frequents, that my friend's other channel, we have a joke that she's a vampire, and she just doesn't want to tell us.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. No shade to vampires.
No, but like, teach me your ways, please.
Right.
The first one that it shows here is 2019, and then we go between 2019, 1619, and 1942, and it's 3 women of the same family. I'm horrible at names, so please don't. I'm trying to remember the 2019. Kate.
Yeah.
Kate, and then there was
Kate.
Kate was 2019, so the modern era as of this book. Antha was the 1619 family member, and then Violet was the family member that was in 1942.
Right.
I love how everybody says hi to each other. Hi.
Yeah, I love that we have this community.
Yeah. We have a small group, but a good group.
Yes. Yes, I love that we have that.
I don't know where to start. I'll start with Kate, because that's how the book starts.
I would start with the book in general.
Yeah.
What did you think of the book overall? What did you rate it?
I gave it 4. I'm definitely intrigued to read more. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer, because the biggest thing for me, and I think I mentioned this to you on our chat, like in our messages, was the pacing.
Yeah.
The pacing was very weird for how short the book is.
Yes.
What was your rating?
I also gave it 4.
Okay, so
we're kind of the pacing. Yeah. Had it been better paced, it probably would have gotten 5 stars from me.
Yeah, it was, but I have to give it credit, because it was very like page turnery.
Oh yeah.
Like, I wanted to finish it.
And
yeah. Maybe that had to do with the fact that it was shorter chapters. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that was to its detriment a little bit. Is like, something like, I want to dig in a little bit more in this time period.
Yes. I would have loved to have read more of Alpha.
Yes. I feel like we got the least about her, and she was the most, to me, the storyline that I was the most interested in.
Yeah.
I didn't even synopsize this book. I'm it's been a long day.
Do you want me to read the synopsis?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so 2019, under cover of darkness, Kate flees London for ramshackle Weyward Cottage, inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. With its tumbling ivy and overgrown garden, the cottage is worlds away from the abusive partner who tormented Kate, but she soon suspects that her great aunt had a secret, one that lurks in the bones of the cottage, hidden ever since the witch hunts of the 17th century. 1619, Alpha is awaiting trial for the murder of a local farmer who was stampeded to death by his herd. When Alpha was a girl, her mother taught her their magic, a kind not rooted in spellcasting, but in a deep knowledge of the natural world. But unusual women have always been deemed dangerous, and as the evidence of witchcraft is laid out against Alpha, she knows it will take all her powers to maintain her freedom. 1942, as World War II rages, Violet is trapped in her family's grand crumbling estate. Straitjacketed by societal convention, she longs for the robust education her brother receives and for her mother, long deceased, who was rumored to have gone mad before her death. The only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W and the word Weyward, with an E, scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. Weaving together the stories of three extraordinary women across 5 centuries, Weyward is an astonishing debut and an enthralling novel of female resilience.
I think it was on the first page. The Weyward terminology that the book is called, and it's the name of the family.
Yeah,
it's a term used in Macbeth.
Yeah.
Which I also appreciated, being a Shakespeare fan. I was like, oh, no wonder that makes sense.
Yeah, originally they were called the Weyward Sisters and not the Weird Sisters.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts, and I'm trying to not be spoilery at first.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
Did Antha give you like being attracted to women vibes?
No,
okay.
I did not get sapphic vibes off of her.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Sometimes I feel like that's how it was supposed to be written. I didn't get it, but like,
yeah, no, I didn't get that. I
kind of felt like that's where it was leaning a little bit.
Well, no, I take it back. I could see that. Not necessarily women in general, but I definitely there is an attraction there between her and her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Hey, Audrey. Hey, Jamie.
Hi. So basically, in this book, every guy is awful. So
not every guy.
One guy is fantastic.
There were a couple of guys that were pretty decent.
I'm trying to remember who else. The brother.
The one guy in Alpha's timeline that brought her the leg of lamb or whatever it was.
Yes.
Him, and then the brother, Violet's brother.
Yeah. Violet's brother was my favorite, I have to say. Basically, it's how patriarchy sucks is kind of how I took this book. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know how to. I guess I'll just. So there's basically Kate is fleeing her husband because of domestic violence. And she ends up going into this Weyward cottage because she found out that there was an aunt that died that she didn't even know existed, that left her this house because she was the only living relative of the family that was still alive. Besides from that side of the family, because her father dies when she was a child, which that was really sad. I'm trying to think. And then she ends up trying to like pull everything together, start over with basically no money because everything was connected to her husband. Barely any contact with a phone, anything like that. And then it kind of just goes into the 1619 time period with Antha, who they don't really go out and say it, but she's technically being tried for witchery, I guess. Or
no, they came out and said it, that they were trying her for witchcraft.
Okay, did I miss that?
Oh, yeah, they came out and said it.
Yeah, that was 1619. And her timeline, I feel like we got the least amount of information from.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really wanted more information. I was like, but how did you get from, I mean, they explained it, but I feel like it was such a, with the pacing issue, it was such a, like, overview. I'm like, but I want to know what happened.
Right. No more.
Yes. And then you go into 1942, which is Violet's time period, which that part I personally think was the roughest to read for chapters, because her father,
for sexual assault.
Yes, very, very triggering, and just domestic violence in general as well, because the father like openly hit her in the first like chapter or two that we followed Violet. So basically, women were just treated badly in all three time periods. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I feel like I said earlier, that the Violet chapters were the hardest to listen to, because I feel like they purposely kept her away from people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because you don't know why until later in the end of, like, towards the end of the book, you're just like, okay, they're just protecting her because she's a female.
Yeah.
In 1942.
Protect.
But she also comes off very, even though I think she's 16 in the book, she comes off very childlike.
Yeah, she's very naive.
Yeah. And she loves bugs and birds.
Right.
Wildlife, trees, all that stuff. Basically a tomboy. That's what.
She's a scientist.
Yes. Yeah. That's the part I'm like, can we just have the book that she wrote next to this book? I kind of want to read it. Like, and how she was like talking to, I forget, it was the spider that she kept in her bedroom or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying my hardest to go non-spoiler as possible, but it's kind of hard.
So what are we aiming for?
Just
are we
kind of like
to overview the book?
Yeah.
Okay. So we start with Kate, and Kate is escaping domestic violence. Yeah. We talk about Alpha, and Alpha is being tried as a witch. And then we talk about Violet, and Violet is struggling and chafing against the restrictions that her family has put on her as a young girl in the 40s, and especially because
the father was a count.
The father and his particular circumstances that we will get into when we get into the spoilers.
Yeah. And that a lot of undue, like, he wants her to act like the proper 16-year-old, but being around no female besides the nanny,
right?
She's not really had like any female people in her life to look up to,
right?
So, like, she doesn't know how to act. She acts like she's more interested in science, like we said. She's more interested in being outside, climbing trees, all that stuff, reading books, and that's not what a girl is supposed to be interested in the 40s. You're supposed to want to get married, have babies,
do embroidery.
Yeah, sit there and poke your thumb, basically. And it's just a lot of like, and she tries to understand it, but no one explains anything to her. Yeah. And that's what was, I think that's what was frustrating me, because I think she would have understood it if someone actually just sat down and talked to her.
Yeah.
Or like, was like, this is what we've got to do. And that's where I was just like, I feel like I was getting so frustrated, but like, it was very realistic for the time period.
Yeah. And given, spoiler, I could kind of understand once we found out. Okay, are we talking spoilers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We went for almost 15 minutes. This book isn't that long, so we can't go too far into
it's not that non-spoiler
territory.
Okay. So, the thing about her mother, and her mother being a wayward, and her mother being a witch or whatever. I could understand why nobody would talk to her about her mother. It was absolutely bullshit. Like the whole issue was bullshit.
It was.
But I could understand why they wouldn't talk to her about it.
But that was what was making it so hard, because I understood both sides of it.
Yeah.
But also, like, she's more naive, so someone has to guide her into something instead of locking. Like, I kind of felt like they locked her up like Rapunzel, like
That's
on
exactly
your hair. Like, I'm just like,
they did.
Someone. I mean, the only person that seemed to genuinely care what happened to her was her brother.
Yeah.
Like her, and any girl wants to know what, like, if their mother died while they were really, really young, they want to know what happened. And she would get, I think she got like smacked across the hand or smacked across the face for asking about her mother. And that kind of made me more curious. I wish there was a little bit more on the mom.
Yeah, I would love to see more about the mother.
Because I want to know, like, because of how the father was, what attracted the father to her mother.
Right.
Because they're so polar opposite.
Yeah. Well, don't you know the mother bewitched him?
Oh, that irritated that irritated the crap out of me. I was like,
men can never admit.
I don't like when, I mean, it's not her fault, but that was the one part of the book that was the hardest for me, was knowing how in the dark she was.
Yeah.
Like, us coming from a 2023 time period, like, we're like, of course that's what it is.
Yeah.
But she didn't know any better. So I guess I'll just go into different time periods and then expound, because that's the best way to do it instead of hopping back and forth.
Yeah, let's talk about Altha first, since she came.
Altha was interesting.
Yes.
So the time period for that was 1619.
Yeah, 1619.
And you open up with her basically scratching herself.
Yeah, she opens up a wound on her own chest.
Yeah, which was very hard to read, even though I'm not squeamish.
What is she even doing? Ugh.
I was like, this is an interesting way to open up a book. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm not even that squeamish, and I was just like, what is she doing?
Ugh.
And she's basically on trial. You don't find out until like halfway through the book that she's on trial for being a witch. She's basically on trial for her childhood friend's husband's murder.
Yeah.
He was a farmer, and was at the time said that he got trampled.
Yeah.
And then when people in their town thought she was a witch.
Yep.
So they were like, I wonder if she had anything to do with it, and hence there was a trial.
Well, and she was right there at the time.
Yeah. And it was the right time period. And most of the stuff because like witches and stuff and like the witch trials are just very interesting to me. I'll go down a rabbit hole very easily.
We like rabbit holes around here.
But like the fact that I think it was very isolated too. That's what made people think it was bewitchery and all that jazz, because they were basically apothecaries. They would take care of people that were sick and all that other stuff, and then a patient dies that her mother was taking care of, Antha's mother. Mm-hmm. And then the whole family was the daughter was blacklisted because of what they say the mother did.
Yeah.
And then it's so fun. It's so like, because there's so many layers to this, but it's such a short book. It's like 330 pages. Mm-hmm. And then her friend, I forget her friend's name. Like, I'm awful. I forget her friend's name.
Hang on. Let me look it up.
I am awful.
I think it was Sarah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right, hang on.
And I'm assuming that the letters she's writing are to Sarah, but she's not sending them. That was my assumption.
No, I think she's just basically writing a diary. No, Grace.
Okay.
Her name is Grace.
Grace.
Grace Milburn.
You're trying to figure out why they don't talk anymore, and it's basically, if I'm missing anything, let me know. That the parents of Grace thought the mother was a witch, so they wanted to pull them apart as friends. And
they would have been fine with her being a witch if she hadn't failed to save the mother.
Save the mother. That's where everything
died. Okay, so Grace's mother was sick, and the doctor came and put leeches on her.
Which was the cure for everything back then.
Oh yeah,
it didn't do anything.
Bleed them. The ill humors must bleed out. Anyway, so the Janet, which was Alpha's mother, Janet and Alpha go to, Grace comes and gets them and is like, please come save my mother. And so they go and they try, but the mother dies anyway.
Yeah.
And so after that, then Grace's father won't let Grace be friends with Alpha anymore.
I'm assuming for safety purposes and because of what happened, and they blame the mother, even though the mother says that she was too far gone by the point that they brought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 16, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to pay attention to that anyway.
No one's going to pay attention to a woman. And basically this whole entire book is basically how things don't really change. Just
the more things change, the more they stay the same.
And what else am I missing? So I want to say when they're in their late teens, early 20s is when Grace gets married.
Yeah.
And they've been married for a while, but they don't exactly say how old Grace is, I believe.
They're young. They're like in their early 20s.
Yeah. But they've been married for a while, so they probably got married when they were like 17 or something.
Yeah.
And she has never had a child. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. Or they think that something's wrong with her because she's never had a child.
Right.
And here come to find out that the more trigger warning for domestic abuse and sexual violence. So her husband was basically doing those things to her, and then she falls pregnant, and she doesn't want to be. So she goes to Antha to get help, like with herbs and everything like that. And
the procurement of abortion.
Yes, back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think what else. My brain is just sorry. I'm all over the place today. It's on me. I'm sorry. And it's implied that they think Antha took it into her own hands and made, I forget if it was cows. Like
make the cows trample John.
Yeah. Like it's implied, but like they have no proof. But like I think the only proof was her hanging out in a tree on their land or something.
She was there and she was a witch.
Right. Exactly. And so that's why she's on trial. And it's this long process. Like she talks about how many days she hasn't talked to actually a human being. Mm-hmm. Because back then they didn't let the person on trial defend themselves, basically. It was trial by what you were thought of in the town. So nobody liked her, so you knew she was basically screwed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we end up going to 2019 with Kate.
Right.
Where Kate ends up at her aunt's cottage and she's trying to pick up the pieces. Tries to find Smart though. I have to give her credit. She actually like hid money so he couldn't find it and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so
she did her best. She did her best to get out of that situation as best as she could.
Yeah.
And she went about it smart.
Yes. And the hardest part for me was like hearing how like he isolated her from people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like I've been there, so it's just like it was hard. And that's a credit to the author that it was written very realistically.
Yeah,
like it wasn't vilifying anybody if they went back. Like your hands are tied to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And she's trying to pick up the pieces, and she's basically living off of what was left at this cottage. So it's all like older clothes from like the 40s and things like that. And then she finds the note. Was it a notebook or was it an actual book? I'm trying to remember.
It was like a codex because it was done in parchment.
And she finds this book about bugs and leaves and
that book.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it was no, you're fine. It was really like that's actually one part I do wish we had is like so we could see like what she was looking at because that stuff just interests me. And so she slowly tries to pick up her life and gets a job at the bookstore, which is perfect. Perfect. Move into a little town. Like it kind of for a minute gave me like Hallmark movie vibes with the moving into a little town, the grandmother's cottage that you want to fix up, and then working at the bookstore. And then she finds out that
she knew she was pregnant. That's why she ran.
Yeah.
She knew she was pregnant.
I think it was the whole thing of like, if he knows I'm pregnant.
Yeah, he'll never let me go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how like nobody else besides the doctor said anything to her about it. Like the doctor was the only one that was like, are you really thinking about doing this? And yada, yada, yada. Like, because she went to the doctor to get like the checkup, and then she asked about the abortion.
Right.
And then someone looked at her like really strangely, but slid her.
The doctor's secretary or whatever.
Yeah, and but slid her the information.
They thought she couldn't hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that still happens today. And then
much judgment.
Yes, too much judgment. That's the sad part is a lot of this still can be tied to today, even though it's not really today.
Yep.
To a certain extent. And then the 1942, which is Violet's timeline.
Right.
Again, the toughest to read because I don't even know where to start because there's so much to unpack with her.
Right.
Again, she was very naive and she was told by her father, like, you have to act like a grown-up while your cousin Frederick is here, which
So we start with Violet and we learn about Violet, that she is a scientist and she's interested in the natural world. She's and like,
that she doesn't make sense to anybody else who lives there.
Yeah, nobody else wants to, because she's weird for a girl to be interested in science. And her brother goes off to school and she wants to go off to school, but her dad's like, no, you're not going off to school. Fuck you.
Basically, you're a female. You're not allowed to go to school.
Exactly. Even though they had girls' schools and she could have gone to one.
Yeah. Especially 1942.
Right. Exactly. But anyway,
and he had the money to
let her go to school.
He had the money to make her go to send her to school.
Right. But so we learn about Violet and we get a sense of who Violet is, in that she's very suffocated in this life. And then we find out that Violet's cousin Frederick is coming to visit. Now the brother is a disappointment to the father. And we start to kind of get that impression. What's his name? Graham.
Yeah.
Is a
Graham.
disappointment to the father. And cousin Frederick is a golden boy. So father's
because the father is an ex-war vet, and Frederick
soldier and
is in the armed forces at the time.
Yeah. So anyway, so Frederick comes to visit, and Frederick gets Violet drunk, drags her off into the woods, and assaults her.
Yeah, and it was very. I appreciate, like, it's weird to say I appreciate how she wrote it, because like you could tell the disorientation from Violet's perspective.
Yeah,
and she knew that like no one was gonna even though she didn't know what was happening because she is so naive.
Yep.
She knew that like shit was gonna hit the fan if it came out. And so she's basically trying to hide the fact that she was raped.
Yep.
But there wasn't that. I don't think there was a term for that back then. I'm not exactly sure. Like when it was more actively used. Because he was calculating.
Oh yeah.
He friggin' like was buttering her up, buttering the father up, and then he drugged them all.
Yeah.
I was like, you piece of that part made me so mad.
Yeah.
And then like she's not feeling well because of everything that happened to her for weeks and weeks and weeks, and she's losing weight and no one sees her. And then they call the doctor in and they ask when
she gets sick.
Yeah. She's morning sickness, but they're not called that term wasn't used back then. And then they ask her, like, she doesn't even know what a period is. That's how naive she was. Like,
yeah, like she doesn't have the vocabulary for it.
Right.
It's not that she doesn't know what it is, it's that nobody's ever given her a word for it.
Yeah. And then the scene with the doctor.
Oh.
That made me so mad.
Oh.
That made me so mad.
That doctor could catch hands.
Yeah, and the fact that he was related to the doctor that was still in the town was so, like, I'm just like, oh my God, stop. So she doesn't tell her father once the doctor examines her and basically says she's pregnant.
Yep.
And of course, because everything's the female's fault, she gets.
Oh yeah, nobody ever bothers to ask her, did she consent?
Did she consent? And I don't even think consent back then was a thing.
It wasn't.
To us. And it was so hard, like it was so hard to, like, the injustices that are still.
Yeah.
I was trying not to make the parallels, but it's still happening to some extent now. Yeah. She's basically sent to her mother's house, or her mother's family's house. So she's hidden away from the world and no one knows she's pregnant.
Yeah. And
of course the father just drops her off and doesn't tell her he's not coming back.
Yeah.
Like, and then he comes back and gives her food and basically tells her she has to marry Frederick because he's the only man you've been around, so the obvious assumption is.
She told him straight out that it was cousin Frederick.
But he assumed, I think, that like she seduced him or whatever.
Of course he did.
Yeah, which is disgusting.
Because it's always the woman's fault.
Yes. And so I almost said emailed. Oh my goodness. He wrote him a letter.
He told Frederick, you're coming back and you're marrying my daughter because you got her.
No choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically you hear nothing from his side of the family or her father's side of the family for months. She's basically left on her own to fend for herself. Which like you made sure she stayed naive, but then because she was so naive, you vilified her for it.
Yep.
And that was, as you can tell, the men in this book mostly suck. It's just, and then the brother, I guess, finds out from Violet what really happened without really asking her.
Yeah, Graham finds out from Violet what really happened. And well, Graham actually walks in the process of Violet's termination.
Yeah, self-imposed.
Whatever, termination. And Violet used the recipe that she found in Alpha's writing.
Yes.
With the tansy leaves. And Graham,
which was an accurate thing because I've read about that before.
Yep, me too.
In history classes.
Yep. And so Graham happens up in time, basically, to help Violet keep from bleeding to death.
Yeah, so she doesn't die.
Yeah, he calls the doctor, buries the body, as it were. That
was tough. I was like,
that was hard.
I understand, but it was also like, that was tough.
Yeah, that was hard to read. So Violet no longer has to marry Frederick. But because Graham took Violet's side against the father disinherited both of them and left his fortune and his title to fucking Frederick.
Yeah. I'm just like, of course.
Revenge.
Of course.
Violet got her revenge.
But that's honestly, like, I was so intrigued by the whole thing with the crows and the connection with the Weyward family and the crows and the crows and the bugs. It was like bugs and birds for the two.
Yeah.
It was so intriguing. Like, I kind of wish it was longer for that purpose. And I wonder if it was longer, if there would be as much of a pacing issue.
Yeah, I think you're right. I wanted to see more of Alpha.
Yes.
I very much wanted to see more of Alpha. And I feel like if there had been more of her, I don't know. I don't know where you could have expanded on her though.
I don't know either, but like, I feel like there's like, compared to the other two timelines, there's such like a lack of information when it comes to Alpha.
Yeah.
Because it's like, she was the town witch doctor or apothecary, and then she was put on trial for killing this man. That's basic. And then you find out that Violet finds her writings with the recipes and everything.
Yep.
And that's basically it when it comes to the Alpha timeline.
Yeah.
Just why, like, I understand that it was intentionally vague, but I still wanted more information. Because you could be more, like, you could still be vague with more information. I feel like I've talked the whole entire time. I'm sorry.
You're fine. And you have like,
what were your thoughts on the book as a whole, how it ended?
As a whole, I agree with you about the pacing. It was too slow at the beginning and it rushed too much at the end.
Yeah. It didn't feel like it was only 330 pages at certain points.
If you don't stop, because if you slap me again, we're gonna have problems. Well, she wants to be petted. She keeps reaching out for me, wanting me to pet her.
I see it.
But then she So yeah.
I want the attention. I don't want the attention. I want the attention. I don't want it.
But not like that. Yeah. So I overall I very much enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. But yeah, I definitely felt like it could have been longer. The short chapters kept throwing me out.
Yeah.
Okay, stop. because, you know, you would start a chapter and you would really get into what was going on in that chapter, and then boom, you're in another, you know, timeline.
Right. That, I feel like we didn't have enough time to sit in anything.
Yeah.
Kitty content.
Kitty content. Yeah, but now the business with the crows and what's his name, the abusive husband.
Yeah.
Called it.
Yeah, you
did. I not call it?
I think we were reading like the first couple chapters, and you were like, "There's some shit going on with the crows." I was like,
"Told you,
you're probably right."
I told you that was going to happen. I've read that book before. No, I'm kidding. No, it was just I knew it was going to happen. I knew she was going to call the crows. I figured the crows were going to kill and eat him and leave no body.
I was waiting for that. I wanted it. I'm like, he's a piece of trash.
Right. Please. Feed him to the crows. So yeah, I figured the birds were going to kill and eat him and leave no body, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, yeah, I would have loved to see more about this timeline.
Yeah.
You know, I would have liked to see maybe some closure between her and Grace.
Yeah, there was nothing. And I'm just like, but I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. I wonder if the way the book was set up was not right either. Because I feel like if we had a couple chapters of one person's timeline, so we could sit in a situation and then get sent to a different timeline.
Yeah.
Like 3 chapters in one, 3 chapters in another. I feel like there was too much hopping around.
Yeah. Yeah. Given the short chapters, it bounced too much.
Yeah.
It bounced
too
much.
I love short chapters. I'm not complaining about that, but it was just like for what she was trying to do, I feel like the chapter should have been longer, or like we should have had a couple chapters in each POV.
Yeah. Yeah. It boing, 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 boing. Yeah.
Her dad, like Kate's dad, like, what happened with him?
Oh, that was.
I was just like, oh my goodness. And then to find out that Violet was there, like after, I was like, oh, that's awful.
Yeah. That Violet basically did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Violet basically caused it.
That's what was so weird to me. I was like, I think we were on your live streams, and I think I was finishing up the book, and my face during the prologue, I was like,
oh wait. Yeah, you went on.
I was like, wait, I'm doing everything again in my head. What happened?
Right.
So basically, her father, when she was, I think, 8 or 9, died from getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
Protecting her from getting hit by a car. And understandably, she blames herself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But then you don't, and then how she tied everything back together. But I also wanted, like, even though she tied the 2 timelines together between Violet and Kate, I really wanted Antha to be tied in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that timeline was just left open. Yeah.
She was too far away in time.
Yeah.
Violet and Kate were close enough in time.
Yeah.
That connection.
Because it was 1942 and 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no way to make that connection with Alpha except through the medium of writing.
Yeah.
Which I felt like was a certain conceit because books from the 1600s don't usually survive that long outside of controlled conditions.
My thing is the house didn't have like heat or air conditioning, so I'm like, that thing would have been shriveled.
Yeah. I mean, I can go with it just because, you know, I've just scratched a hole in my arm.
You okay?
Right, made myself bleed. I can go with it for the sake of the story.
Yeah.
When it first happened, when I first realized Violet was reading the book, I was like, no, you're not.
Especially with, like, because I remember, I think it was when Graham showed up, he helps like reinforce the windows so she wouldn't freeze to death. Like,
Yeah.
if it was that dilapidated, there's no way that book would have survived.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just completely open to the elements and all of that.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, the cat wants to be spoiled. That's exactly what she wants.
Yeah.
She's just
She
happy.
wants attention but doesn't want it.
Yeah. So.
I'm sorry for spoiling everybody with the book, but the book is so short that there's no way. Like, there's a certain
people
like
know.
there's just, you can't. It's just all connected and. But I like how it was like
reviews.
It was like it reminded me of a book that I read from Rachel. I forget her last name, but it's The Nature of Witches.
Okay.
And it didn't remind me in plot, but like they have nature magic. They can control the weather. And it kind of reminded me, like, she can't control the weather, but they basically used what was around that house to like make potions or medication, things like that.
Interesting. Sorry, I just stopped to read about the nature of witches.
No, you're fine. I can tell by the way you were looking. I'm like, she's reading. They're reading.
Yep.
I totally think you would like it. I'm gonna do a reread in January. She writes a lot of books about witches. Like, that's her thing. I'm genuinely curious what this author is going to write next, though.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see, because this was her debut.
And I have to say, for a debut, very solid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, you can definitely tell she knows how to write.
Made the Goodreads Choice Awards shortlist.
Yeah. I voted for it for the one, what was it, debut section?
Yeah, debut novel.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And we read it so fast. Like, I think we read it in like, what, a week? Or a little over a week?
Like that. It would have taken longer if we'd have stayed with the 3 chapters a day. But they were so short. The chapters were too short. I feel like it took like 15 minutes to read 3 chapters.
I know. And I was like, are you sure? And then I think you messaged me while we were on your sprints, and you were like, I'm going to finish it. I'm like, okay.
I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Is that okay with you?
But I love it when it doesn't tie together till the prologue. Like, that takes skill.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I missed any important major points. Did I miss anything on your end?
I don't think so.
I kind of wish Frederick just died in the war.
Oh, no, I think her revenge was fantastic.
Her revenge was great.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It was moths or?
Mayflies.
Mayflies. But I love that she stayed in contact with her brother. And was like, oh, thank you. Not every man is garbage.
Right. There were 2 in this book.
2. Swapping 1, 2. So patriarchy sucks is basically the tagline in this book.
Yeah.
And I'm reading another book on Jen's recommendation. This chunky thing. It's a trunk.
Yeah, it's a doorstep.
Oh my goodness.
It's a
the only thing that's getting me, and we said this back at the stage, but like the names. I'm like, who's who again? What's going on?
Yeah,
it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I hate to cut this short, but it's such a short book that
it really is. And that's the thing. It's a very short book. It's a short book. It's a quick read. Honestly, if we hadn't been buddy reading it, I probably would have read it in one day.
I know. I was like, I would have probably read it in 1 to 2 days. Knowing me.
Yeah.
We definitely have to buddy read again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'm hoping you love Jonathan Strange because I want to gush with someone about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to picking it up.
And I haven't scheduled the discussion for Jonathan Strange yet because my friend that I'm doing it with, he's in school, so I have to work around his school and work schedule. So
Gotcha.
that's why he's like, I'm sorry, I won't be able to tell you until like a week before. I'm like, that's fine. It's fine. And Helen might be joining as well. So you're more than welcome to come.
Absolutely.
I'm also reading in December. They have short stories connected to Jonathan Strange.
Oh.
There's a book of short stories.
Okay.
What is it called?
I don't know.
My brain just totally short-circuited. Hold on. Goodreads. We're not using Goodreads as much as I usually do. I check Goodreads for everything.
Yeah.
The Ladies of Grace, Adieu, and Other Stories.
Okay.
It's ADIEU.
Yeah.
I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Adieu.
It's French.
Yeah.
That's
French.
all I know.
Yeah.
And it's 235 pages, but you have to read it after.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
And I know it's technically not a standalone, but they haven't written the second book, and it's been out since 2005. So I read it.
Not a standalone?
No. Not as of Goodreads, no.
Oh, okay.
But it's been out since 2005. So
yeah.
And the only other book is the short story. Let's see. Since I'm not doing a TBR, I can just say my TBR since we're here. I'm doing a very short TBR because this is what I'm reading for next week because my book club is doing this. It's called Always Watching by Julianne Lindsay.
Okay.
Full disclosure, she's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. We're actually I'm gonna do a discussion piece next year on her one of her other series, and we're gonna discuss it on my channel, and she's gonna come on. So yay. And then I have Mr. Scrooge Face. Those are it's like a 2-hour-long Audible original thing for Christmas. Okay. Yeah, there's not going to be much content this month on my channel because I have family coming into town, and my brother will be here for 2 weeks. So
fun.
I know, which is fantastic, but not a lot of other things are going to get done.
Yeah,
because family will be here.
Understandable. So. Well, I'm going to be gone for about a week, so at Christmas time.
When are you leaving by?
I leave. What day do I leave? Let me look. Because I'm off the 20. Wait, that is December. I'm off the 22nd. I leave the 23rd. So I'll drive down there the 23rd, and then I'll be there the 24th and 25th, and then I come back the 26th.
Okay.
So
it's a long drive, though.
Yeah, it's 12 hours.
My brother lived in Austin for a long time, so
yeah, it's a long
drive. You literally can drive that and still be in Texas.
Oh yeah,
it's insane. I'm like, why?
It's very large.
It's so big. But I'm trying to think what else is happening. So this book will be discussed Wednesday the 6th on my friend's channel. Who picked this book? It's linked downstairs. And we will be discussing that plus the novella a week later because we're trying to get everything in before. We're trying not to stress out for the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm secretly trying to get 7 books read in December so I can at least reach 100 because I'm at 93 books for the year so far.
You're at how many?
93.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And you're trying to get to 100?
Yeah. I've already surpassed my goal. I lowball myself with goals every year so I don't stress out, but I've always wanted to try to make it to 100. So, but I'm also not going to stress myself out if I don't. What are you at now, Jen?
I am at 109.
Wow.
Yeah, I read 109 after I finished. Hang on a minute, I've just lost my screen. There you are. When did I finish? What day is today?
It is
Today's Friday.
Not that I have to think about that frightening.
Yeah. I finished 109 on Tuesday in sprints.
Okay. What was the last book that you read?
Secrets of a Scottish Isle. It's the number 5 in the Jane Wonderly mystery series.
What's the first one called in that?
The first one is called Murder at the Mina House.
Okay, I have it on audio.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty decent. They're pretty decent.
I love to stick a cozy mystery in.
Let me see. I think it's the third one. Let me look. Murder at the Mina House. Because that's the first one. Which one's the second one? No, the third one is one of the best, and then number 5 was also quite good.
Ooh, I love when like middle books are fantastic.
Yeah, 1 and 2. 1 was good, 2 was better, 3 was the best one. 4 not so great. There were parts of 4 that really got on my nerves.
Okay.
And there's a novella also, and parts of the novella also got on my nerves. There's a particular character that I don't especially like that keeps turning up in places where she doesn't fucking belong to be.
So when I'm reading it, just message you and be like, I hate this person.
Yeah.
I try to give book series, like, especially with cozy mysteries, because they're so short. Yeah. I try to give them like 2 or 3 books because like the first book is just setting everything up.
Yeah.
For the series, and then you go from there. But my problem is when, and I've noticed this about myself because I read a lot of cozy mysteries. If the murder doesn't happen relatively quick, like this one book series I was reading for my book club, the Scottish bookstore mysteries, very well written, but the murder doesn't happen until like 10. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Like, it's like a 300 and something page book. I'm like, how is the murder?
The murder's got to happen early in the book.
Like, let's see, like the first 3 chapters of setting up, and then chapter 4, someone dies.
Right, but a body's not dropped. It's not a murder mystery if there's no body.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm just like, how are we in chapter 8 and it's just happening? And the series is still going on, and I'm just like, how?
Ugh.
I read the first 5. They're not badly written. I just like, she doesn't go where I want to go. Like, there's definitely magical realism in it, and it's just ignored. And I'm just like, but I want to know this.
Yeah.
Why? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to find a new series because like I've read everything that like I have my core favorite series. And I think you should definitely try my favorite. I want to get your thoughts on my favorite. Okay. The first book is called Live and Let Chai.
Oh, I've heard you talk about that one.
Oh, good. And I want to get your thoughts on it. And it's really short.
Okay. Let me put it on the list. Oh, it's already on the list. Okay, never mind.
It's 7 books, but it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's last year, the last book came out, and it's fantastic. And it's not just because I know the author. I don't want it to like, they're actually fantastically written.
I'll check it out.
And if you have you ever seen the movie Practical Magic?
No. I'm familiar, but no, I haven't seen it.
Really? That surprises me considering like kind of stuff you're into.
Nope.
Okay. Because the ants in that movie remind me of the ants in this book series.
Gotcha.
Like they're very like they're just kooky old ladies and they're great.
I approve of kooky old ladies.
But they like lean into the kooky. Like we know we're weird. We've never been married, and we happily live like as sisters. We live together. We do things, and I'm just like, I support. I'm with it.
I'm absolutely 100% behind this.
It's fantastic. I'm trying to think. What else would I think you would like? I think you would like Jonathan Strange, but you're reading that this month. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts. So excited. If you want something Christmassy, like if you're in a Christmas reading mood, this is book 4. It is called The Christmas Tree Farm Mystery Series. The first one is called The 12 Sleighs of Christmas.
Let's see.
They're really short and fun.
The 12 Sleighs of Christmas. Jacqueline Frost.
Yep. A pen name for her. This is her pen name. Same author.
Yeah, I like it.
But one of my favorite characters in the book has a pet goat, and he's amazing.
Okay, mark that one to read.
And they're really, really short, and they're 99.9% of the time available on Hoopla.
Okay.
If you have access to a Hoopla account.
I do.
And the audio is done fantastically, and they're like between 6 and 8 hours, so they're really short.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's very short.
So what's happening on your channel coming up?
I just filmed my November wrap up today. So that'll go up on Tuesday. Doing sprints tomorrow, as per usual.
I need your sprints in my life right now.
Yeah, sprints are good. Sprints are very good. Christine has tentatively said that she'll join me tomorrow.
Okay.
So we should have some Christine in the morning.
That'll be fun.
Let's see what else I've got. Hang on a minute, and I'll tell you.
I have to wrap up November, but I'm so scared.
Yes, I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books for next month, and I jumped the gun and 5 books next month. And I jumped the gun because I had 6 and I read one already.
Oh, what did you read?
Secrets of the Scottish Isle.
Okay, that was one of them.
That was on my TBR for December, and I went ahead and read it Tuesday. So I was like, fuck it.
I'll get it done.
Fuck it, I want to read it.
And when is your discussion with Paula for the London Seance Society?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. I read that one. I'm curious what Paula will think because I read it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
So, yeah, it was good. I liked it. So, so we have that talk tomorrow at 4:00 Central.
Okay. So it'll be 5:00 my time.
Yeah.
And let's see. What I have to wrap up November, but I don't know where to start because I read 15 things in November.
Start with the first one.
Like I read so many things, but they're so short.
Yeah.
Like I read a lot of comics last month because I just kind of was in a comic mood and I just kind of went down a deep dive.
There you
and
go.
I don't live far from the comic book shop, which is bad news.
I read 2 comics last month.
Okay. I want to know your thoughts because I finished that.
Which one? Normal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
I really liked it, but I was told that the first one is the weakest to keep on going. Like it gets better.
I'm probably gonna pick up the next one.
Yeah, I found it randomly the next bind up at my used bookstore, so I picked it up. I'm really excited. But I think you would. I know you don't watch a lot of TV, but I think you would love the series because it's only.
I've heard that.
It's so good.
Christine watched it and told me that I should watch it, and
it's so New Jersey centric.
And I don't have I don't have Disney Plus anymore. I had it up until the summer with my Verizon subscription.
Okay, yeah.
Changed it around now, and they're not offering Disney Plus anymore, so I don't have it anymore. Yeah.
Boo. If you need to, I can give you mine.
Nah, I just don't watch TV. I don't have the attention span for television.
I have to be in the right mood.
I sit and read a book for 10 hours, but I can't watch, an hour TV.
Yeah. And sometimes like today, like I couldn't even focus on a book. Like I was trying to finish a comic and I couldn't even focus today.
Yeah.
So I sat and watched cheesy Hallmark movies. Why not?
I took a nap in the middle of the day. It was lovely. I spent 2 hours on the couch in the living room.
I'm so jealous of people that can nap.
Oh man.
I'm so jealous because I can't.
There are days when I couldn't function if I couldn't take a nap. I was like this past week, I had one day where it was all I could do to make it to lunchtime. And I took a nap on the couch at lunch.
Was that the day that in Discord you were like, I fell asleep? I think that was that day. I was like, I'm so jealous. I wish I could.
Yeah, because I was like, literally, I was sitting there, and I guess it was like Sunday or Monday. No, I guess it was Monday, and I was so tired. Oh my God, I was so tired, and my head kept falling back, and I was just like, oh God, and so I managed to power through to lunchtime because I have my lunch at 11. And I managed to power through to 11 o'clock, and I took a nap, and I felt better after the nap, but yeah, it was not great.
That's the thing. Like if I take a nap, I can only take a short nap because if it's past like an hour, I wake up in such a nasty mood that I don't want to deal with anybody. Like I'm just like, go away, leave me alone, go away. But I hope to have you on my channel again. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for agreeing. It feels really weird to have you on the other side because usually you're the one that's in charge. But I hope to see everybody again. Thanks for everybody watching in the live stream, and thank you for watching everybody who's watching on the playback. And if you don't follow Jen, what the hell are you doing? But they are linked downstairs. Everything, everywhere you, that you can find social media, except Twitter. You have a Twitter, but you're not actually on Twitter.
Use it, yeah.
Yeah. But literally, they are everywhere. And as you can tell, they make me giggle, so that has to say for something. But I hope you have a great night. And I hope I didn't spoil this book too much for you. Yeah.
And if we did, too bad.
It was fun anyway. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.